Well, you know, when you start your career at a young age, you know, being a teen pop star is, you're in the making as a human being. You know, you're just growing up. You don't really know who you are. Your handlers are telling you to go left or right. You don't know. And then it comes a time where you kind of get into yourself and figuring out yourself, and then you become rebellious. So it's either, you know, like Justin Bieber, for example, like he became rebellious in a way that, you know, he's finding himself, he's defining himself, trying to define himself and where he stands in society. Britney Spears, I remember I was at a club of Vine Street and Hollywood Boulevard, and there was, she was in the club, it's a private club, and there was a girl next to me, and she was looking at Britney, and she was like, oh, she's got everything. That girl's got everything. And then I was looking at Britney, and Britney was a little tipsy, and like, you know, I was like, oh wow, because I didn't know that she drank, and so I was like, oops. I was thinking to myself, all right now. I think, you know, she's now getting into herself and experiencing life, drinking, partying, hanging with friends. And of course, you know, she was doing it, but then suddenly we're like, yo, it's time to catch that. Britney Spears is in the club drinking, and then they make a big deal out of it. And then it escalates then because, you know, sometimes it's a cry for help. You want to escape the box you're in because everybody's like always on you. You have to deliver all the time. You have to be on your game all the time, but you need to escape. How do you escape? Well, the usual suspects, you know, alcohol, drugs. That's the way you just, you know, take a load off. You know, and then sometimes you start doing it and then you get used to it and then you're like, you need it. It's part of your thing. You can't live without it. And that's what happens sometimes. So being a teenage pop star is rough because, like I said, you're developing and you haven't experienced life yet. So whatever mistakes you're going to make it in front of the world. And even if you are older, an older pop star, whether you're in your 20s, you're going to make mistakes as well. But I think you have more of an understanding of, as human beings, we all know what's wrong or what's right. It's just you wanting to rebel. We all have that phase where we just want to rebel, you know. I don't care anymore. You know, you don't care about anything. Oh, my first thought was when she shaved her head, it was a cry for help. You know, she was tired. She was exhausted. Removing her hair was removing Britney. Oops, I did it again. Hit me, baby, one more time. You know, it was a way to remove that person, that character that she was, Britney, you know, that thing, because that was her life. So by doing that, she was trying to shed her skin and becoming something else, but they wouldn't let her try to. And, you know, we don't know how heavy it was, you know, that descent into partying and drinking and doing drugs. We don't know how deep it went, or, you know, prescription medicine. We don't know. You know, like I said, we all, as human beings, we go through phases. We try to evolve. But when you're so famous and you're trying to get your me time and it's impossible, I mean, your lid is gonna explode at some point. Like I said, action equal reaction.
When Britney was a teen star, Lindsay Lohan the same, but we also have kids from stars like Paris Jackson or Bobby Christina.
Yeah, Bobby Houston. So sad. Well, you know, sometimes when your parents are famous, I don't know. I have no idea. My parents were not famous. But I lived in Los Angeles, and I live in Los Angeles for a long time, and I can see how having your parents being famous could affect you, you know, and especially if your father or your mother doesn't have much time for you, then you're going to find refuge somewhere else. You're going to try to fill that void, you know, that's missing, the love you're missing with drinking. Or, you know, because you don't have that love at home, you're going to go hang with some shady people, not the good people that you should hang out with, and then they will introduce you to the bad stuff. And because you want to belong and be cool and be Hollywood, you know, because Hollywood is a club, you know, all those, you know, there's the party club. And once you enter it, you feel like, oh, I'm cool too. You know, there is this thing where you want to belong. You want to be cool. You know, and if your parents are famous and your parents are famous and you guys party together, I'm feeling myself. Yeah. You know? And at first, it starts very innocent. You have no idea what you're doing. But depending on the person that you are, you might fall into, ooh, I like that. Ooh, I like doing drugs. I like doing coke. It makes me feel strong. And maybe what you're lacking as a human being, suddenly you gain it. It makes you like, oh, I feel invisible. Wow. You know, and then you want that feeling over and over and over again. Or you want a feeling of distance. So you do like downers because you want to drift a little away. And then some people get into some other things. You know, it all depends of who you are and what kind of problems you're dealing with. And then, but unfortunately, there are people that you shouldn't be hanging out with, and you end up hanging out with. And if you're weak, if you're not strong to begin with, well, then you'll drift with them, and you'll keep on doing what you're doing. And before you know it, like you're kind of dependent on that lifestyle, and you want to belong. And if you're not at the party hanging out with this person, then you're like, oh, what's wrong with me? And then when that starts happening, you're in trouble, for sure.
How helpful is controversy to a pop star?
Yeah.
Well, Miley Cyrus. You know, I mean, she hit it on the nail. She's a very smart girl. She started young in the industry. She had a TV show on the Disney Channel, I believe so, with her dad, Miley Cyrus, who was also a country singer. So she grew up in the industry, pretty much. And she's been exposed to how the machine works. But Dad is also a controversial figure as well. And so, well, she understood. And she has no fear. That's what I like about her. You know, people might criticize her, but she's just being herself. That's what it seems like to me, huh? She does whatever she feels like. It seems like there's no boundaries. Getting naked is not a big deal. And it's not a big deal. Some people make it a big deal. So she's taking advantage of it. You know, she's having fun with it. It's also, she's surrounded by talented people. Obviously, you work in fashion, so everything has an artsy feel to it. But yeah, she understood controversy, and some people abuse it. But then in the end, it's such a crazy world now that more and more it doesn't matter. Excess is part of the norm now. Miley Cyrus is a businesswoman. She's a pop star businesswoman who understands that you have to press those buttons. If you press the right buttons, you will end up on all social media. You'll end up not only in the press, on television, and in social media. Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, you name it, they're all there. And that's amplifying everything. So it's a game now, you know, we got it. Press, social media, you press everything at the same time, boom, and what do you get? equal exposure. Because in the end, it's all about exposure, getting exposed to everyone, and then getting a reaction, because there's action, equal reaction, always. It's always like that. And what are they looking for? They're looking for views on YouTube. They're looking to sell records, but we're not selling as many records as we used to during my time. So what's happening now is it's all about the tour. Touring is where that's where the money is. And then from touring, if you are well known, well, you know, you're gonna get brands to come and talk to you and say, hey, we want you to represent us, whatever brand it is. She's more of a fashion girl, so I'm sure she's working with people. You know, it's just the way that the business is switched around. Even though, you know, record companies now, they have this contract that is called 360, where they dip in every aspect of your career. If you get a commercial, you get a piece. Before it wasn't like that. Before you were the artist, and everything you made outside of the label, that was yours. So, well, you know, some people might have those type of deals, so now they have to go and get the money somewhere else. So they go after it. But it's the new world we live in. Brands use celebrities because it sells.